Good evening. Welcome to the City of Montgomery City Council meeting. I'd like to ask everyone here if you please put your phones on silent so that we don't have any disruption during our meeting. It is exactly 6 o'clock p.m. and I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll begin this evening with an invocation from T.J. Wilkerson.
Lord, we come tonight with humble hearts and bowed heads. Lord, we come thanking you for all that you've done in our life. We come thanking you for the city. We come thanking you for this administration. We come thanking you, Lord, that you touched us with your loving hand this morning and woke us up. We thank you for your grace and your mercy. Watch over us, Lord, as we go forward in this agenda. Keep us, Lord, all on one accord. Lord, we may continue to have dialogue than just monologue. Thank you, Lord, for all that we've done. Thank you for all that we do. And thank you for what you've done in our life. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. The Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. This comes I'd like to make note that there is a quorum this evening. Tom Cronin is not here this evening with us. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the Visitor and Citizens Forum. I have two pieces of information to share with you this evening. The first one is a speaker request. I'm speaking on behalf of a resident who frequents Old Plantersville Road, and there seems to be not one but two dogs that chase runners, walkers, bikers, etc., and they're aggressive. And it is, what should we direct our residents to do in that case? Since I know the county's got a dog catcher, but by the time they get here, it'll be late. So is that a 911, or is there some way that we can get with the owner and make sure that they can restrain their dogs? I don't know if they're getting out via a fence, but we can share the information of where they live after the meeting and see what we can do about it.
I'd say if you can get me the address, we can approach them, out of the meeting. In general, contact the city hall. I think the city's police department could, well, I don't think it's their primary job they want to be responding to dog chasing incidents. It is a public safety issue.
Yeah, and we don't want the residents didn't want any conflict, and there's a couple of them, a handful, so I thought it better to address it this evening than let it continue. So, okay, great. Secondly, this is not on the agenda, but it's certainly worthy and necessary to ensure that we discuss it this evening. A proclamation on Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week 2021. In 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. Established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. Every day, we ask a great deal of the men and women of our nation's law enforcement agencies, from ensuring public safety to serving as frontline workers to responding to incidents involving domestic violence, substance use disorders, mental health challenges, and homelessness, often with limited resources. Every morning, our nation's law enforcement officers pin on a badge and go to work, not knowing what the day will bring and hoping to come home safely. This year, 294 officers died, 184 of them from COVID-19 related issues. Even as the COVID-19 pandemic took a physical, mental, and emotional toll, our officers, deputies, and troopers demonstrated courage and dedication in continuing to support our communities. As we recognize Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week, we honor those who lost their lives in line of duty and thank them on behalf of this grateful city and this nation for their service. Even during these trying times, these men and women of law enforcement continue to be on the front line of their communities. As we recognize Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week, we honor those who lost their lives in the line of duty and thank them on behalf of this grateful nation for their service. We also honor those who are still putting their lives on the line each day to make our community safe for both the residents and the visitors. Now, therefore, I, Sarah Countryman, Mayor of the City of Montgomery, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2021 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and May 9th through May 15th, 2021 as Police Week. I call upon all the citizens of Montgomery as well as across America to observe these events with appropriate ceremonies and activities. I also call on the governors of the United States and its territories and appropriate officials of all units of government to direct that the flag be flown at half-staff on May 15th, 2021 on the Peace Officers Memorial Day. I further encourage all Americans to display the flag from their homes and businesses on this day. Mayor Sarah Countryman. I tried to do some history on this, and I don't believe the city has ever recognized our law enforcement, and we certainly have never celebrated Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week. So I'm proud that this is the first of an annual event. So Chief, thank you for all you do. Thank you for your team that you've built, and we will ensure that all of y'all eat well this week. Good stuff. All right. First item of business on your agenda, the consent agenda. Item number 1, matters related to the approval of minutes of April 27th, 2021 regular meeting.
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the agenda as presented. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote. It is now open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the consent agenda as presented. Consideration and possible action. Consideration and possible action to adopt the following ordinance. An ordinance canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the City of Montgomery general election held on May 1st, 2021 for the purpose of electing 3 city council members, place 1, 3, and 5, to the City Council for the City of Montgomery. We need a motion that we will accept the canvassing and the final vote.
I'll make a motion that we accept the canvassing and the final vote.
Mayor, just before you start this item, we need to read the actual results into the record.
Okay, do we, you know what, thank you. I didn't think that we had to do that, but we will go ahead. Okay, so the Montgomery County Elections Administrator, Susie Harvey, has provided the certified official canvassing reports for the City of Montgomery, which are attached as Exhibit A of the canvassing ordinance. There were a total of 262 votes cast with no provisional ballots. The official canvass of the return to the general election held on May 1st, 2021 reflects that the following named persons received the number of votes set opposite their names in the respective positions to be filled. City Council, Place 1. Candidates: Carol Langley, Jenny Stewart. Votes received: Carol Langley, 158. Jenny Stewart, 98. City Council, Place 3. Candidate: T.J. Wilkerson, John Champagne Jr. T.J. Wilkerson, votes received, 154. John Champagne Jr., 100. City Council, Place 5. Candidates: Byron Sanford, Thomas Cronin. Votes received: Byron Sanford, 135. Thomas Cronin, 114. The certified official final results of the general election held on May 1st, 2021 certify that the following persons are duly elected to their respective positions as follows: Carol Langley, City Council, Place 1. T.J. Wilkerson, City Council, Place 3. Byron Sanford, City Council, Place 5. Now I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the certified official final results of the general election.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the final results of the general election. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote. It is now open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting the final votes of the general election, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the final results of the general election. Number 3, Mayor Countryman will administer the oath of office to the following duly elected officials from the May 1st, 2021 City of Montgomery general election. Carol Langley first, City Council, Place 1. T.J. Wilkerson, City Council, Place 3. And Byron Sanford, City Council, Place 5. So if y'all, each person First one is Carol, second one will be TJ, third one is Byron. If you'll meet me in front here, that would be great.
Does that mean we get to go sit down? I feel like I'm the last person left. I want to go over there now. Okay. Let's do it.
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I, Carol Langley, state your name.
I, Carol Langley,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of
your name and your place
Carol Langley, Council Position 1
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will do the best of my ability to preserve,
and do the best of my ability to preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution and the laws
the Constitution and the laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. You play this by heart. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I
TJ Wood,
do solemnly
do
swear
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of,
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of
take your name and place,
TJ Wood, place 3
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will do the best of my ability
and will do the best of my ability to
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the laws
and the
of
laws
the United
of the
States
United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. All right. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I
I, Myron Sanford, Position 5,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of,
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of
your name here,
Myron Sanford, City Council Position 5,
of the state of Texas,
State of Texas,
and will do the best of my ability to preserve,
and will do the best of my ability to preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the laws of the United
and the
States
laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. So it's time, we will take everyone's name down, and your nameplate should be right here. And ask you to come sit up in your new chair. Susan will have some paperwork for you after this. So if y'all will stay behind. Item number 4, recognition of outgoing council member Tom Cronin. We do have a frame here this evening, and I'd like to read that to you. It's from the city of Montgomery, Texas, presented to Tom Cronin in recognition of your years of dedication to the city of Montgomery and service on City Council Place 5, December 2018 to May 2021. Thank you for your stewardship and diligence in preserving the history and ambiance of Montgomery while promoting the economic development of this growing city. Your dedication and service will not be forgotten by the citizens of Montgomery, your fellow governing body, citizens and staff of the city of Montgomery. Presented by the City of Montgomery Mayor and the members of City Council on this, the 11th day of May 2021. All right, the next item on your agenda is item number 5. Consideration of possible action to elect the mayor pro tem for the term of 1 year as provided by the Texas Local Government Code 22.037B. As we know, TJ Wilkerson is the current mayor pro tem. And City Council, you have the chance to vote no, keep the same, whatever your pleasure.
I'd like to vote to keep TJ if he would love to continue. Thoughts, TJ?
Okay.
No.
I will second that.
That was said with conviction.
So I'd like to make a motion to continue with TJ Wilkerson as our mayor pro tem.
I second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that we remain Mayor, TJ Wilkerson remains Mayor Pro Tem. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires majority vote. It is now open for discussion. All those in favor of TJ Wilkerson continuing as Mayor Pro Tem, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and TJ Wilkerson will remain the Mayor Pro Tem. Excellent. Item number 6 on your agenda. Consideration and possible action to appoint a replacement position to the Montgomery Economic Development Corporation, MEDC Board of Directors.
Yeah, I think as you know, Tom Cronin has served as one of the elected official positions on the Montgomery Economic Development Corporation. And that term is current, it ends January 2022. With his coming off of council, that means a new person needs to be appointed from this body to replace him. Carol Langley is also serving on that, so she's not eligible, but she's already there. So there are several of you then that remain for that, but it's up to council to appoint one more person.
This position starts immediately or at the end of Tom's?
No, it would take, since Tom is off council, he automatically vacates that spot, so this will take effect immediately, and the next MEDC meeting is in fact next Monday. So this person would be seated for that.
I'm new on the block, but I do have an interest in economic development, so I'd like to be considered. I'm interested in that.
Why are you looking at me?
Oh, well, I nominate Bob.
It is seconded that Brian Taylor be nominated to the MEDC Board of Directors. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It is open for discussion. All those in favor of appointing Byron Sanford to the Montgomery Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and Byron Sanford will be a member, a board of the Montgomery Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you, I think.
Can I ask who seconded the motion? Kevin did. Kevin, thank you.
Okay. Item number 7 on your agenda. Consideration of possible action regarding city engineer.
This is essentially the same item coming back from the last council meeting. Since we have 2 changes, or 2 people that weren't here, with Councilman Sanford now being seated, as well as Councilman Wilkerson was not here. I wanted to make sure I would have clear direction from the full council. And the item that I was bringing to council then was, back in January, I presented a recommendation from the interviews from the statement of qualification process for city engineer. At that time, the recommendation was to maintain with Joseph Carter, but it was strongly based on the experience that with the engineers that we dealt with, Chris Rostowski, Catherine Wu primarily. And there were several qualified firms that submitted. The decision was primarily, there was not enough reason to change from Jones and Carter because of that experience. Since that time, I feel the situation has changed. Jones and Carter remains the city engineer. However, the 2 people that we primarily dealt with, have left that firm. And so I took that opportunity to review a number of the firms that were submitted. Also had discussions with Jones and Carter. Jones and Carter did come forward. They did supply others to take those places. And I think they're a fine firm. I don't think, however, the city is best served by retaining them for city engineer. I would continue to use them for projects that are underway. I would consider them in the future for other event projects. I think the city would be best served by going to the firm Ward Getz and Associates, where both Chris Rosnowski and Catherine Booth have gone. It's a firm I do have some but limited prior experience with, and that was all positive. But the recommendation I made back in January, I think, remains the same. I think the hands-on, direct personal experience those 2 individuals had then would continue through a different firm, and I think that the relationship part of that is very important. And so the item that I'm asking the council is, if I would have the support of council to do so, I would work with that firm to bring a contract back to council, for them to replace Jones and Carter as the city engineer. I have had conversations, with Jones and Carter. They indicated to me they would continue to work with the city through any transition or through any process. Obviously, they would have preferred to keep all the business. I do think the city would be well served by keeping it in place for the ongoing projects that are well underway. And then we would look at the other items. But that's what I'm looking forward to, council. This would not be a vote to change the engineer. This would be to allow me to have discussions to bring something back to you. And, if council wanted, I could go through a long list of what the differences I see are in, the duties of the city engineer, working with, staff coordination, council coordination, utility capacity, a lot of those things that you see, that the city engineer does from a day-to-day basis, And as I've said this to council many times over the 2 years that I've been in this position, I think that we need, or would be better served by having projects that are often considered done with big tickets by other engineers, or at least through an RFQ process, and have some separation there. And so we're getting essentially get the opportunity to get the best from multiple firms. I see this as one way to get farther down that path. This is not a, Jones and Carter is bad, they just need to kick them to the curb. I think they should continue to do a number of the things that they're doing, but I think, that the city engineer duties are best served, with moving to another firm. And if I have the support of the council to bring that back, then I would do that for the next coming meeting.
So just to clarify, 2 weeks ago, we decided to bring 3 firms, and now we're bringing it back to you to bring back 3 to us. I know I've told you this, and I've told Sarah this. My husband works for Blisle, so if you bring it, fine, I don't care. I have to recuse myself, but I'm going to say right now, I have big concerns that WGA doesn't have GIS services. It's basic civil engineering, and then that puts us in a spot to use 2 different civil engineering firms, which means that we have to have some kind of narrator in staffing that's going to balance that, and then who presents for that? Is Dave going to be the person that stands up here and presents for our engineering report every month? Because the more we diversify this and send it out to multiple different firms, the less we are to have continuity throughout the whole city. You're not going to have a representative come and be our spokesperson to give us an engineer report if you farm it out to multiple different firms. It's just not going to be financially in their wheelhouse to do that.
Don't you have one city engineer and then you can have other engineering firms, and that one city engineer knows everything that's going on with all the engineering projects in town? Or am I...
That's largely correct. And while with any one firm, it is not just one engineer working. If you have a large firm, you have a city engineer. There are other engineers at that firm. That city engineer is really doing the coordination with that firm. This would just move that level of coordination outward a step. You're talking about 2 or 3 professional firms coordinating and communicating on a professional level. If they're not professionals, they shouldn't be in that business. If they're not able to coordinate and communicate, then they shouldn't be doing that. And I have worked in places that multiple engineers have worked on different projects and been able to coordinate. I have that experience in my background, and I've seen it work.
Alan, have you seen cities do this? Is this common practice that you've seen?
Yes, and in fact, you may have, depending on the type of project, there may be an engineering firm that specializes in, road and highway type work, or there may be another firm that specializes in wastewater treatment plants or water and sewer type work, and another firm that, specializes in drainage work. So yeah, that happens.
And then we could still use Jones and Carter for GIS, should we, that's where it is today, right?
We certainly
they-
could.
yeah.
Or, the city had previously, that has, with GIS, with Jones and Carter, is a separate contract, but that could even go to another entity.
Okay.
It's a separate item. It's like the city already, sometime back, employed BGE as an engineering firm to do a drainage study. It's like, we had the communication between the city engineer and BGE. It wasn't internal within a firm, it was external. But, the city's already taken steps in that direction.
What type of motion do you need from us, Richard? Just a motion for you to continue into these
To
talks?
allow me to enter into discussions with WGA and to bring the result of those discussions back to council.
Okay, so I move to allow you to enter into discussions with WGA and bring back the results of those discussions to council.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we direct the city administrator to move forward with discussions with WGA and bring the results back to council. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires majority vote. It is open for discussion. All those in favor of directing the city administrator to move forward with getting information from WGA, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will direct the city administrator to move forward with WGA to request information. Item number 8 on your agenda, consideration of possible action on setting exemptions for the use of 2021 notices of appraised value and 2021 assessment rolls.
In recent years, the city has had an exemption of $50,000 for over 65 years of age and $70,000 for disability. And I went back the last couple of years, I didn't go back farther than that. My purpose here is looking forward. I would recommend keeping those exemption levels. As I looked into it, the city does not have a homestead exemption. And I think in this time period, increasing home values, it would be a good time for the city to consider adding a homestead exemption for owner-occupied homes in the city that qualify for such an exemption. My recommendation is the city council add a $10,000 homestead exemption for 2021 and going forward. This would result in a $40 decrease in annual property taxes to the city on properties qualified for the homestead exemption. I know that doesn't necessarily sound like a lot of money, but for the year 2019 to 2020, the average home values, just assessment increased by $22. Essentially this would be almost rolling back that automatic increase in property values by 2 years. And I think it's something the city council could look at year to year, so that some of its homeowners who, just by living in the same house, with the appraisal district reassessing the value going upward, aren't automatically just paying a higher amount of taxes. And so that my recommendation is that maintaining at $50,000 for the over 65, maintaining $70,000 for disability exemption, and adding a $10,000 homestead exemption. And at your receipts I had for you, I didn't have it at the time of the packet, an example of all the cities that are entirely in Montgomery County and what their exemptions are. We have the second highest for both over 65 and disability. About half of the cities do not have a homestead exemption. Several have, but I believe there's no homestead exemption. A couple have 1%, one has 2.5%, and there's 2 cities at 20%. They have put it there in percentages. I think it'd be more fair in dollar amount. If someone lives in a $500,000 house, 10% exemption is a lot more than someone who lives in a $150,000 house. At $10,000, that's an across-the-board number that affects everything. So I put that recommendation forward to council.
I almost disagree with the dollar amount just because everybody else seems to do percentages, and again, there's so many people inside the city limits that do have large lots of land. So if you put a percentage amount on it, those probably people with large amounts of land are getting ag exemptions anyways. So yeah, $10,000 is going to be straight across the board, whether it's anybody, but that seems more like socialism rather than government. Just my opinion. It would seem like a percentage would be what the streamline is based upon every other city around us within the county. And I know that this is what I asked you about yesterday. What is everybody else doing? So that's why you pulled this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
When I ask a question, usually you're trying to provide an answer.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't because, oh my God, when we talked, I was like, okay, $10,000 is not bad. And I was like, but what if everybody around us is doing 20 or 25,000? What do we look like comparable? And not that I say, hey, let's be apples to oranges, but what does it look like to be fair in a spectrum? So, and I don't have a homestead exemption on my house, so it doesn't affect me. But it does affect a lot of people.
It exemption good for a year? So can we try it for a year and see what the impact is, and then maybe go back to the board and go, hey, this is what, now, like today, how many homestead houses do we have in the city?
About 400.
Okay, so, and then if it grows, because it's gonna grow substantially.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe we go, okay, let's go back to the drawing board and let's do a percentage, let's do 1 to 2%. But let's start here, a little tiny step, and then next year we can elevate it.
Right. Every year this comes back before council for all these items,
Yeah.
not just the homestead, but all these classifications come back to city council for review and reapproval.
Is it hard or normal practice for a city to do a sliding scale, 0 to 300,000 gets 1% or 5%, then 0 to $500,000 gets 2%? Like, does that, no? Okay, too difficult. Okay, got it. Simple math.
Yeah, you have to either set a flat amount or a percentage.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I think people, or the cities that have tried to do that, that's why they go to a percentage.
So why not do something like 5%? It's not like horrible, off the top like 20%, like a couple of these, but it's also not 1% at the bottom of the line. 5% means it's fair, dollar to dollar, what the property value is, versus everybody gets equal, no matter who you are.
I just think if we do a blanket starting out, we'll know exactly, we'll have a better idea, and then the percentages, let us get used
The
to it.
percentages is ever changing, the dollar amount is fixed.
It's just safe. I mean, I like it. Safe.
You're like, it's money,
And then next year, we'll figure it out. But
I think the school district's homestead is 5,000, and theirs is a set amount. But I didn't look up to see what other school districts were or anything. But
And because we've never had this before, it's kind of, we're kind of fish out of water here, knowing. So again, Alan, what do you see?
It varies just like the chart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we wrong for wanting to stair step and maybe start with 10,000 and go, or should we just do a percentage and move forward?
That's not wrong at all, because it does impact the revenues that you receive. And, the first year you can see what that impact is, and you can, adjust from there. If the impact was minimal and you can handle more to help your residents, then you know that.
We're dipping our toe in the water.
I know, I hear you.
Okay.
I understand the math in it, and that this makes it a fixed dollar amount exactly to the penny. We know exactly what the city is losing, so I understand that.
Such a strong word.
Well, we are losing. Well, the city is not losing because we are gaining in tax value that people are spending in the community that they saved on taxes. So I apologize.
I'll give you a hard time.
I'll make a motion that we accept this action item, the exemptions as presented.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the exemption as presented. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires majority vote. It is open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting the exemption as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the exemption as presented. Item number 9 on your agenda. Consideration of possible action regarding the adoption of the following ordinance. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Montgomery, Texas, amending Chapter 86, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 7. Is that correct? Or is that 10, 12, 7, thank you. Towing services, Section 86 through 236. Definitions in Section 86 through 237. Towing service rotation list guidelines. To update the city's rotation list guidelines for non-consent tows and the definitions related to same. Providing a severance clause and the Texas Open Meetings Act clause, and providing for an effective date.
Upon recent review by the City of Montgomery Police Chief and in consultation with the city attorney, the attached proposed ordinance is provided to replace the current ordinance. This includes updating the voluntary regular service rotation list, guidelines that are provided by the police department. It also includes the applications for both the tow truck companies and the tow truck drivers. Under this ordinance, the city will review and approve the applications of both the tow truck companies and the individual drivers to operate as tow truck service providers in the city. But this is basically, it
How many tow truck services companies are we talking about?
We've only got the one right now.
Stoves, that's it.
We had others that had inquired about coming here, us not having the proper paperwork to ensure that we were getting drivers, getting all their information, and also making sure that these vehicles have the proper insurance and liability for injuries in certain amounts, and also making sure that they're paying the rotation fees and they're keeping their vehicles up to inspection. So right now, we just have the one, and we'll start with having having those people come in and fill out all the drivers. Because sometimes those trucks will change drivers, and you never know who that driver is. And we need, and we'll do it for you to get.
So we are doing background checks on the drivers?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
And you or the staff here will reach out to Stowe's to make sure that we actually do have drivers as we need them?
Yes, we will have a meeting, Lieutenant said have a meeting with Stowe's tomorrow after tonight's council meeting to get him up to date on all the paperwork, let him know we have to have those drivers because we're not sure who's driving each tow truck. This work will be sure each driver will have to come in, fill out the information, driver's license, go through criminal history check.
This is similar to what they did in Harris County a couple years ago, correct?
Ma'am?
This is similar to what they did in Harris County a couple years ago, correct? Yeah.
It's really something that should be done.
Yeah,
But
standard
that way
practice.
It takes the
Yeah.
liability away from the city, and you're sure that the record company has these, this insurance and liability.
I make a motion that we accept this as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the ordinance as presented. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote. It is open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting the ordinance as presented, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the ordinance as presented. Next item of business on your agenda is executive session. The City Council reserves the right to discuss any of the items listed specifically under this heading or for any items listed above in executive closed session as permitted by law, including if they meet the qualifications in sections 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, 551.073, deliberation regarding gifts, 551.074, personnel matters, 551.076, deliberation regarding security devices, and 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations of the Chapter 551 of the Government Code of the State of Texas. Item number 10 on your agenda, adjourn into executive closed session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Government Code, in accordance with the authority contained in the following. A, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, liquidated damages for lift station number 1 contract. It is exactly 6:38, and we will go into executive session. Reconvene into open session. Possible action from executive session. Number 12, consideration of possible actions if necessary on matters deliberated in closed executive session.
I'll make a motion, I can't talk this time, that we accept the offer of the assurity.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the offer of the assurity. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It is open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting the surety, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the amount for the surety. Okay. Next item of business on council inquiry. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.042, the mayor and city council members may inquire about a subject not specifically listed on this agenda. Responses are limited to the recitation of existing policy or a statement of specific factual information given in response to the inquiry. Any deliberation or decision shall be limited to a proposal to place on the agenda for future meetings. Anyone have anything? I do. If nobody else has, I do. It has come to my attention, Alan, that a previous council member, as of this evening, voted in purchasing some property that the city was offered and did not recuse himself from that, and actually did purchase that. I don't know what we do in this case, but full well knowing that they were purchasing and still voted on it.
Well, that could amount to a conflict of interest. You'd have to investigate some of the facts to be sure.
Yep. Okay, and then when we get those facts, we could just present them to you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification.
And Mayor, I have one thing I can give the council an update on real quick.
Yes.
You may remember several meetings back, was the authorized bond refunding.
Yes.
And essentially a refinancing of a series of city bonds. That sale took place today. And we got an interest rate cost for that sale. We went from, I have a lot of decimal places, I'm just going to round them off. We essentially go from 3.55% over the next 18 years to 1.41%.
Awesome.
That results in a cash flow savings over the term of the life of $757,952.50.
Oh, there you go.
Which is equal to a present value for today's value of $691,745.36. You know, it reduces the annual payment by over $41,000.
Fantastic.
Good deal.
So you did a good job of proving that at the right time.
And that's through 2038?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. So that's significant dollars.
And I think it's even better than what they were talking about.
It is. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I want to say what was presented to you was approximately $540,000, $550,000 in expected savings. And while that was certainly a significant number for the, it came out much better.
Yeah, when you go to the market with any kind of bonds, new money bonds, reverse bonds, the interest rate changes daily. It's like the stock market goes up and down daily. And so you're kind of making a guess when you make these projections. And when the FAs were here in March, they were projecting a pretty significant savings at that time, and you guys did even better.
I'll take that versus the other. That's wonderful.
That's great.
Okay, thank you for the great update.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. It is 6:56, and we officially adjourn this meeting. Thank you so much, council. Have a great week.
That was great.